And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean,
over the Caribbean,
South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
Oh, they don't want it, but we are kings. Mm-hmm. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God. Us.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me?
Want to say peace and blessings, family. Want to say shalom, lak, mash, pakha to others. Want to say shalom to you. Want to say peace and blessings, family. Hope and pray that you guys are starting your Shabbat off the right way. And as you can see, I have been let out on parole. I've been in YouTube jail so long, I'm not in the county. I'm in the pen. They have ankle bracelets on, on me to make sure that I don't go but so far before they throw me back up in there. So yeah, last year I was in YouTube jail for 9 out of the 12 months, but yet we still grew here. And so bunch of nonsense that's going on with this platform and other platforms to suppress this truth. But guess what, family? They cannot suppress this truth. They're doing everything that they can to suppress this truth, even with lying, right? You can make all kind, you can expose hatred in all other communities, including our community, with the exception of the Jewish community as we know it. They took down a video, gave me a strike because I posted actual news articles from Israel and also the news, Channel 13 News. And those articles had audio showing how they exposed some rabbis, not all, some rabbis, as well as some teachers at the university over in Israel to hate. I'm not going to get into all of that. And then with the whole niggas series that I taught here, they tried to, on the spelling bee video, they put a label on it saying that it's promoting nudity and sexuality and all this other stuff, sexual content and all this other stuff. Said it was nudity and sexual content in the video that you guys have seen with the spelling bee of the white kid being asked to spell niggas. Then they tried to restrict the rest of the videos by saying that, I am, that they are highly sensitive and all this other stuff, just for speaking the truth and giving Bible study lessons on what these words actually mean. Family, it's real out here. The truth is becoming the new lie of today. That's what it is. The truth is actually the lie of today. The truth is the hate speech of today. But I'm not going to dwell on that too long here. I want to just say again, peace and blessings to you, family. And I got to show my video one more time for those that don't know, but let me just show you this video again so that way now why I was silent for the past almost week and a half. It's because of this. That's right, family. I'm out. Don't know how long I'm going to be out. You may have to put some items on my canteen. You may have to put some Twinkies on there, some with some of the other things, some moon pies, some honey buns, some Chico sticks. You may have to put that on my canteen, to make sure that I'm good because the way things are going, I may have to experience what I experienced last year, 9 out of the 12 months being on lockdown. So if you don't see me, if you don't hear me, family, I will say this: we woke extended. We woke now extended, right? That's my alternate channel, and I'm going to start promoting that. So whatever lives you see here, it's simultaneously being recorded over there. So if you don't see me here, just start going over to that channel, and I will do lives over there. I'm going to start making it a point to upload some items and some videos to there as well. Yeah, family. Make sure you guys give me the books. Make sure you give me some VCR recordings of Martin, and just so that way I can stay up to speed with Martin, the whole series. Not that remix stuff, but the old Martin. Make sure you guys send me some living color on VHS tapes. Make sure you guys do that for me, because the fight is real up in here. All right. So I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. And family, we have a lot to cover tonight. Initially, I was just going to just deal with the tithes and the offering, but I'm going to take it a step further, family. I'm going to take it a step further, because many of you guys, and I'm not saying all of you guys, many of you guys is caught up in the witchcraft of this person here, Creflo Dollar. He has everyone talking. And one good thing about all of this is because now the church is talking now. With the tithe discussion, now is forcing them to give clarity, because Creflo, even though he did not apologize, family, he has no regrets, right? Even though he changed his stance in terms of his approach to tithes, he said that, hey, we're not under the law. So we're going to deal with that. So I'm going to break this up into two parts. Tonight, we're going to deal with that portion of it. And tomorrow night, we're going to go into giving proper clarity on what the tithe is. He did not apologize. He did not repent. And I want you guys to understand, this guy, along with these so-called mega ministry preachers that are out here, many of these guys are promoting witchcraft. And what he performed was witchcraft. We have warlocks before us. And unfortunately, so many brothers and sisters within our community start running with this thing. And I'm not sure where it started from, by teaching that, number one, the tithe is nothing but fruits and vegetables. I'm not sure where that came from. So what we're going to do, I got a sense of it, but we are going to go step by step, line by line, and I'm going to give you proper clarity on what the tithe is. See, the problem is when you start having so many of us pushing that and thinking that the Most High actually going to say to us, you set the standard. You give whatever you feel like. Oh, Yah loves a cheerful giver. See, we think that the Most High is going to operate in G3:5 doctrine. What is the Genesis 3:5 doctrine? That you establish what righteousness is. That you, which when I say you, us, establish what holiness is. Take him out of the equation. So whatever you feel, and the flesh is never going to do the things of the spirit. That's a fact. So so many of our brothers and sisters are running with this guy right here. He just performed witchcraft right in front of you guys' eyes. I taught him this years ago. And Sister Carol was following me on Facebook. She'll tell you, I taught on Creflo Dollar years ago, his hustle and the witchcraft that he's spewing out there. Not just him and others. filled with witchcraft. And many of our brothers and sisters are running with this thing, assuming that he didn't apologize, which he didn't, assuming that he repented, which he didn't. See, family, number one, if you did something out of order and you hurt people, that's what reparations is for. Reparations is to take whoever you abuse, whoever you took advantage of, you were supposed to give restitution. You're supposed to make it right with them. You are supposed to give them reparations so that way it breaks their dependency from you. That's what reparations is, family. For those that are pushing reparations but really don't know what reparations is, reparations, the truth about reparations, it is there to provide, give independence to the victim. Out of all the group of people that receive reparations, you know, the slave owners receive reparations, man, everybody done received reparations, but our community. And we are the only community that is so dependent on this government to function, to operate. So this man did not repent. He's not giving back a single dime. So before we get started, I'm going to share with you a few clips, and then we're just going to go into it, family. This is going to be a 2-day study. I'm not going to be able to do all of this in one setting because this is at least a 3-hour lesson, and I'm not going into a marathon like that, especially knowing I have to teach in the morning. So let's go ahead and show a couple of clips. And I want you guys to hear, I'm going to share some older clips of his. All right. Let me allow you to hear a couple of older clips of his for you to understand just how reckless, just how much of a warlock this guy is, and how so many of our brothers and sisters are caught up in his spell. He didn't say anything that was correct inside that lesson. I could pick that entire lesson apart. Pick it apart. And by the way, Geno Jennings, the offer is still there, right? The offer is still there. And some of you guys don't know, when I was doing my Facebook thing, Geno Jennings jumped in my live in the chat, wanted to do a debate. And then I guess he backed out when he heard me teaching against one of the lessons that he taught. So the invitation is out there, Pastor Jennings, if you want to continue on, get that going, because I really want to have some discussions with you. So like my favorite movie, Tombstone, I'll be your Huckleberry. All right. So let's go ahead and play some clips here. Let's go ahead and get started, family. And let's expose this warlock here. Let's start with this first clip here. This is his own words. I don't have the video to it, but you will hear the audio. Here we go.
Moving bars and give everybody a little card. They stick it in a little computer slot. And if they were tithing, beautiful musical to go off. And, you know, welcome, welcome, welcome to the world, dome. But if they were non-tithers, the bar would lock up, the red and blue lights would start going, the siren would go off, and a voice would go throughout the entire dome. Crook, 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 crook. Security would go and apprehend them, and once we got them all together, we'd line them up in the front and pass out Uzis by the ushers. We point our Uzis right at all those non-tithing members because we want God to come to church. And at the count of 3 Jesuses, we'd shoot them all dead. And then we'd take them out the side door there, have a big hole, bury them, and go ahead and have church and have the anointing. Aren't you glad we're under the blood of Jesus? Because if we were not under the blood of Jesus, I would certainly try it. Folks, this is a serious thing.
The devil is not trying to get you to sin. He's just trying to get you to keep the law. Because if he can get you to keep the law, you will sin.
The devil is not trying to get you to sin. He's just trying to get you to keep the law. Because if he can get you to keep the law, you will sin.
The King James, it says the wages of sin is death. And yet in the Mirror Bible, it says the rewards of the law is death. Well, how do you hook that together? Well, first of all, understand the devil is not trying to get you to sin. He's just trying to get you to keep the law. Because if he can get you to keep the law, you will sin. You see, Romans chapter 7 says, for without the law, sin was dead. There is no sin without a law. There's no transgression of a speed limit if there's, first of all, not a law that gives you a limit, a speed limit. So without the law, there is no sin. Without the law, sin will have no opportunity. And what many people think, they think Satan's trying to get you to sin. And Satan's trying to tempt you to do this or to do that wrong. No, no. All he's trying to get you to do is to keep the law.
See, family, and what's sad is seeing how this guy, how so many people are giving him free publicity. You got pastors now, because I got tagged in a conference that bishops they're going to have and talk about the tithing and all this other stuff. That's the one good thing I would say. The silver lining in all of this is that there is a discussion, but I want to be in on the discussion. See, Creflo Dollar, and I'll have the clips ready for tomorrow, but he began his entire lesson with downing the law, statutes, and commandments. That's how he started his whole presentation. Do you even hear, family, that this person said that he would, if he had it his way, he would gun down those that don't give tithes. And now the itching ear people of the Most High is running with this stuff now. Remember, Hasatan disguises himself as the messenger, the angel in Hebrew, malak, messenger of light. But he has ministers too, and he's a minister of his. So tomorrow, we're going to go into that Mirror Bible that he was quoting out of, because many of these mega ministry people are teaching out of that mirror, that Mirror's Bible, the Mirror Bible. And the Mirror Bible is a paraphrase Bible. And for some of you guys that don't understand the different types of Bibles that are circulating out here, you have, number one, you have the translations, Bibles that are actual translations, of the wording. Then you have transliterations. Then you also have paraphrase. Each one had pros and cons, but the paraphrase is the worst. And so we're going to deal with that tomorrow. And Miss Kim, we're going to deal with this right here. I see Miss Kim here. The storehouse is where you store goods like food and rations. Miss Kim, I appreciate your input, but that's partially correct. That's not the full context. And we're going to give clarity. If we have clarity, I'll touch on it a little bit tonight to give you clarity, but that's not completely correct. And we're going to actually dissect Malachi so that way we give proper clarity, because this is the stuff that many of our brothers and sisters have been teaching incorrectly, that the tithe is solely food and rations. And even Creflo deceptively in his choice words mentioned how tithe is converted over to money if the path is too long. But I'm going to show you that he did not tell the truth. And I'm going to show you that the tithe was more than just food and money. It wasn't just conversion of going from food to monies like silver. And we're going to deal with that, because one key question that uh, not a single person that I've engaged in conversation with was able to answer the question if the tithe is supposed to be just food and grain, right? And the priest didn't have to pay for food because all the 11 other tribes had to give rations, not just to the priest, but we'll deal with that, but give free food to the priest. So you're telling me that in Malachi chapter 3, the priest was guilty of stealing food? Come on, family. We gotta really listen to what we're saying. So I'm going to prove to you the church has abused the tithe, and I'm going to show you that many of the Israelites, the Israelite community, is abusing the tithe by improperly teaching it as well. Some teach, and many don't teach it. But those that many have bashed the church about how they incorrectly teach it. But then you have some camps that actually speak against it publicly, but have their members giving 20 to 30% of tithe to their. It's so much craziness out here. So family, we're going to do this in 2 parts, and I'm going to give proper clarity. I couldn't squeeze it all in at one time. So I just want to make that clear, family, because I know a lot of you guys want to get to that portion of it, but we will get that. We will get that. Okay. We will get to that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here. For the sake of time, let's get as much as we can in tonight. And I will touch a little bit on the tithe just to give you a nugget, and we'll go into the fullness of that portion of it tomorrow. And if anyone from the church, the bishops and all that, if you guys have a discussions and you really want to have a true discussion, bring me in. All right. I'll accept the invitation. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. Let's deal with the objectives for tonight. I'm out of YouTube jail. All right. So let's get into it. Our objectives for this lesson: to explain whether or not if tithing is biblical. Explain if tithing is done away. Explain when tithing began in the scriptures. Properly explain the law is done away. Excuse the typo. So let me just give you a little nugget here. Dealing with the law, dealing with the commandments. This is coming from James chapter 2, verse 10 through 12, right? James chapter 2, verse 10 through 12. I want you guys to really grab hold of this, right? Just a little nugget here. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. And see, this is what many Christian apologists will run to and say, see, if you say you want to be obedient to the law, you know what? If you break one of them, you break it all. Guess what, family? That's not new. The Messiah said the same thing. He said, all the law and the prophets, he said, guess what? Will teach you 2 key principles: how to love the Father and how to love each other. But the Messiah, if you read the text, the Messiah wasn't about him saying, he's going to create 2 new laws. No, because those are not new. It wasn't about him trying to say, hey, these are the only 2 laws to follow. No, the scribes, which is the lawyers, tried to trip him up by saying, what is the most important law out of all of them? Right? They tried to trip him up. So out of all the laws, the Messiah said the 2 key ones. He didn't disregard all the others. He said the key is love the Father and love each other. And he said that all the law and the prophets, and we're going to get proper clarity to that phrase, that these 2 key principles, right, hinges on. He didn't create any new commandments, family. That's what the church will teach. That's the deception. That's the witchcraft that they have taught. So this is what they'll teach. They'll go here, but they don't put it in its proper context. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. For he that said, do not commit adultery, guess what? That's commandments. Said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. Think about that, family. So it says, thou art become a transgressor of the law. And we're going to define that word there. Verse 12, though, they don't get here. They don't go to verse 12. So speak ye, and so do you, and so do as they shall be judged by the what? Law of liberty. What is the law of liberty? See, it's so easy to knock down this nonsense that they teach. So we know that the law of liberty, what is the law of liberty? The commandments is the law of liberty. That's what it is. And see, family, again, like I said, for those that are coming in late, we're going to touch a little bit on the tithe, but we're going to go into a deeper dive tomorrow night. And I'm going to give you proper clarity, because guess what, family? When we start dealing with the remnant, because the tithe is more than just food and grain and money, it's people. To tithe, the remnant, the surviving portion that keeps the rest of Israel intact. And I'm going to prove that to you. See, family, we've been taught to read the scriptures through the lens of our oppressors. And we're going to prove that over the next 2 nights, tonight and tomorrow night. So we're going to deal with this, family. So the commandments is the law of liberty. I'm going to take that a step further. I'm going to say this again, family. The warlocks are lurking. My grandmother always said, wherever there's a witch, there's a warlock. And I want to let you guys know the warlocks are lurking. These warlocks are lurking and casting so many spells and getting people so twisted up in their delusions. Never thought that I would see that many people within our community would be championing this guy right here. We're going to deal with this, family. We're going to deal with this. We're going to deal with this. Is the law done away with? I'm going to ask that question, and I'm going to put this, and I'm going to ask this question, and I'll go through some of the questions, and this will give me an opportunity to give some shout outs, because I know it's been a while. So is the law done away with? If you guys believe that the law is not done away with, type 1. If you believe the law is done away with, type 2. Let me say that again. If you believe that the law is not done away with, type 1. If you believe that the law is done away with, type 2. All right, let's go through some of the answers here. All right. Leonard Bernard, no. Sheila Jackson, no. I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Cece, no. Barbara Jones, no. Let's see. Ani Yeki, I want to say peace and blessings to you, sis. Law is not done away with. Ruhama, my cousin, the law is not done away with so far. Len Bernard, Ryan Harris, Imaya, Sister Carol, Miss Howard, Tana, Rich. Who else do we have here? Amiya. So far, we have everyone is in agreement. I thought I saw a couple of no's there. I mean, agreeing that saying that the law is done away with. So far, it's unanimous so far. Let's see here. All right. Ruben, I want to say peace and blessings to you. I will prove to you and I will show you that the tithe is more than just food and livestock, but I'll show you with scripture. So we'll touch on it a little bit tonight if we get to it, but definitely we'll do it tomorrow night. Appreciate you, brother. Angela Bolton, agree that the law is not done away with. Todd Wilson, E. Harris, Sedaria Halliburton. Let's see. So far, so far everyone is in agreement. I thought I saw one that says no, but so far everyone is in agreement that the law is not done away with. Let me see. Do we have one? All right. So far, everyone is in agreement. I thought I saw one. I may have missed it. I might have missed the one that I saw. Let me see here. I'm just going back through the list here. Oh, there we go. KS put here too that they believe that the law is done away with. All right. Soul of our ancestor. Want to say peace and blessings to you, sis. Everyone, for the most part, we would. It's safe to say 99.9% agree that the law is not done away with. All right. So let's go ahead and give proper clarity. Let me walk you through. This is how you walk the argument through, because it's easy to just say, give a bunch of yes and no's. No, we're going to walk it through, and I'm going to show you how to really go into the scriptures and give proper clarity on what to answer this question. All right. So let's start with Romans chapter 6, verse 14, because this is one of the passages that this is what Creflo started off with. Romans 6:14. This is the scripture that he went to, right, dealing with the law, and his argument to saying that the tithe is done away with, because he believes, and he's teaching like most in Christianity teach. I'm not going to say all, but at least the majority within Christianity and Catholicism, they teach that, they're no longer under the law, right? So here it is. Romans chapter 6, verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. Verse 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahweh forbid. Now, in your translation is going to say God forbid. And I don't like using the word God because it's a generic word. And unfortunately, we see attempts to make sure we understand the transliteration of the transliteration of the transliteration of his son's name. But we don't see the point of emphasis to knowing his name, even if it's simply understanding the short form, which is Yah. Now, some of you guys would say Yahweh, some would say Yahuwah, but the ancient pronunciation is Yahweh, right? But it's not a deal breaker because we still walking this thing out together. So I prefer to use his ancient name and not just use a generic word God, because that's a lot of confusion. But we're going to get into it. So again, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahweh forbid, or you could just say Yah forbid. So what does Paul mean when he says we are not under the law, right? What do he mean? What do the Apostle Paul, right? Because we know that, in Christianity, they really champion Apostle Paul. We know in the Catholic Church, they really champion Peter. They view Peter as being the first pope. But in the church, they really champion Apostle Paul. Now, I'm not saying that I'm disregarding Apostle Paul, but Apostle Paul does not come before the Messiah, right? And we have to take the rule of thumb that whatever Paul say, we should be able to confirm it with two witnesses, which is at least two of the disciples' writings that we have, at least two of their writings to confirm what Paul says, or your understanding of what you perceive Paul is saying. So if you're saying that Paul is saying that we're not under the law, then you have to give clarity with at least two of the other prophets. That's the law in itself. The church is breaking the law. Why? Because they use Paul, but they do not confirm his words with at least two other witnesses. That is Deuteronomy chapter 17 and also Deuteronomy chapter 19. At least 2 or 3 witnesses in order for something or a matter to be addressed. All right. So let's go ahead and answer this question. Is the word used in the singular or plural? Because understand this, family, we're going to break down this word law, because whenever I deal with someone, especially when I deal with people from the church, I ask them a question. When they say we're not under the law, and when they start going through Paul's writings, I ask them, is it a singular or is it plural? When you say we're not under the law, can you explain it to me? See, most people in church, and I'm referring to pastors, cannot explain and differentiate what is a law in the proper context it's being used in. So is the word used in the singular inside this text or the plural? Let's start with the Greek definition of law. Let's break down law. You really need to understand this, because you're not going to understand the tithe if you don't understand these bare principles here. So let's start with the word law. Some of you guys would say Torah, and others would say Thawara. Not getting into the pronunciations tonight, but Torah, or however you want to pronounce it, from the Israeli or the ancient. But notice what it says here, Torah, right? A precept or statute, especially the Decalogue or the Pentateuch, the law. So notice it says a precept or a statute. So this right here is telling you precept and statute can be used interchangeably. So the word law, the English word law, precept and statute can be used interchangeably. So that's telling us that this can be singular or it can be plural, because we see the Pentateuch, the Decalogue or Pentateuch, the law. Why do I say plural? It could right here. This is plural. Penta, pente, or however you want to pronounce it, right? That's 5, right? This is 5, Greek for 5. So that means what? The first 5 books of your Bible is called the Law of Moses, or the law. It's referred to, it has different names: the Law of Moses, the law given to Moses, the Law of Yahweh, or some, to say the Law of Yah for short. It goes by a number of different names. So it can be singular, precept or statute, and we're going to explain these words here, or it can be plural in reference, referring to the first 5 books of the Bible. So is Paul saying that we are not under the law? Is he saying that we don't have to we don't have to deal with the Torah anymore, because that's the first 5 books, these books of instructions? That's why it's called the book of instructions, right? The book of precepts, the book of statutes. Now, I hope I made it clear. I hope I broke it down a little, made it plain for you guys. Just that alone should give you a better way to approaching the text, right? But notice here, family, it says in entry number 1, and I'm going to highlight the sub entries as well. It says law, direction, instructions. Entry A, instruction, direction. But notice what this says here: instruction and Messianic age. But let's read each one of them. Body of prophetic teaching, right? The first 5 books, right? It says body of prophetic teachings, instruction and Messianic age. So you want to learn about the Messiah in those first 5 books. Body of priestly directions and or instructions. Body of legal directives. This is all covered in those first 5 books. And by the teaching to disregard those first 5 books, and actually the church is teaching to disregard the whole so-called Old Testament. Only 2 Bibles, only 2 books that they really hold on to is Psalms and Proverbs. But they want to disregard and, cherry pick on selected texts that they want to use, like the Tithing, Malachi 3, Kojic. Man, they'd tear up Malachi chapter 3. How does a man rob God? Through their tithes and offering. I know what I'm talking about. You got some of you Pentecostal folks up in here, some of you apostolic folks up in here. Y'all know, especially tax time. You hear more talking about tithes and offering during tax time, during tax season. And that's the one scripture that the one passage they'll pull out. How do a man rob God? And the people say, how? Through your tithes and your offering. Yeah, Pastor. Yeah, Pastor. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys, getting excited right now. I Sister Carol Price somewhere just inside the chat ready to do this. All right. So Let's go to law.com because, family, the best example, if you really want to understand the law, statutes, and commandments, the covenant in terms of what the Most High has given to his people, you can use the Constitution, which is equivalent to the covenant. Those words are interchangeable. And you can also use the laws and the statutes and the ordinances of this country to understand what these words mean and put things in its proper perspective. So we're going to go to law.com and let's see what the law.com say about the definition of the word law. Let's see the legal term. We see here any system of regulation to govern the conduct of people. Let me say that again, family, because when we say that we are not under the law, right? When we push that narrative, you're saying that we don't have any type of regulations. There is no system. There is nothing that the Most High have in place to govern his people. Because guess what, family? Everything that's lawful is not expedient. This is dealing with the system of man. So let me read that again from the legal aspect of it. Any system of regulations to govern the conduct of the people of a community, society, or nation in response to the need for regularity, consistency, and justice based upon collective human experience, custom, or conduct governed by the force of the local king were replaced by laws almost as soon as man learned to write. So law has been in place. The earliest law book was written about 21 BC. See, this is getting beyond Kemet and all that stuff that they try to come at you with the 42 negative confessions and all this other stuff. The earliest law book was written about 2100 BC for Namu, king of a Middle Eastern city-state, a Shemitic city-state. Within 3 centuries, Hammurabi, king of Babylonia, had enumerated laws of private conduct, businesses, and legal precedents, of which 282 articles have survived. And you'll see terms like eye for an eye. And we'll deal with that from our perspective, from the Torah perspective, when we get to this point, but just showing you that law has been in place. The Most High has laws. Law has been in from the very beginning. The Most High established this from the very beginning. So anyone that says that, hey, we're not under the law, what are you talking about? You mean to tell me, let's go back to the first portion of this, that there's no system of regulations, that the Most High did not establish regulations to govern his people? That's what many of these people are saying when they say that we're not under the law. That they're saying that the Most High did not give us any instructions, any guidelines on how to be governed by him, right? Let's fast forward here. So law, right? A law, guess what? It can be a single foundation or statute. So law can be single. In other words, a single foundation, right? Or it can be a single statute. It can be a single foundation or statute. So let's deal with it from a singularity perspective, a single perspective, right? Law can be used interchangeably with statute. Let me say that again, because you'll see the words law, statutes, and commandments. But let's give clarity. Law can be used interchangeably as we defined it, Torah. We defined it, instructions. Law can be used interchangeably with statutes, precepts, statutes. Law, that word can be used interchangeably with those two words. So now we have to understand what's a statute. Let's bring it together with law. Let's go to the legal definition of statutes. Here we go. A federal or state written law enacted by Congress or state legislature, respectively. Local statutes or laws are usually called ordinances. So what is this saying? Right? Law, statutes, they are instructions. Right? In the United States, you have just over 5,000 federal laws, right? But then you have over 48,000 statutes. those statutes are put in place to provide instructions on how to enact, how to carry out those laws. So I'm keeping it plain, family. We keeping it simple. I'm going to get right back to what they take out of context, but I want to walk you through this, guys. I'm walking you through this right now. We slow walking this. We're not rushing this. So did law.com give a clear definition of statutes? They did, but let's take it a step further, right? The Hebrew word for statutes, chak, right? Collins' definition, let's see what they say about this word statutes. They're going to confirm what I say here, but notice what it says. Statutes is a rule or law. Notice interchangeable: statutes, rule, statutes, law, which has been made by a government or other organization and formally written down. Right. But notice here, this is the example that really gives you more clarity. The new statute covers the care for raising and protection of children. In other words, the new instructions, right? See, that's what it is. Statutes, instructions, how to carry out. So did Collins Dictionary give a clear definition of the word? Somewhat. But let's look at the Hebrew definition of it, right? It says an enactment. In other words, these are instructions how to carry out. So when the Most High gives a commandment, he gave instructions on how to how to carry out his commandments. He didn't just tell Adam to take care of the garden. He gave him clear instructions to dress and keep the garden. He gave him commandments, and he gave him instructions on how to carry them out. The first sacrifice was performed when Adam and Eve sinned. And the Most High gave them instructions because that's how their sons knew how to sacrifice, because Adam taught them based upon what the Most High had taught him. So statute, chak, right? And enactment, in other words, instructions on how to carry out. Notice what we see here: appointed, bound, commandment, convenient, custom, decree, decreed, due, law. So let's go to the etymology dictionary of enactments, and this has helped put it in this perspective too as well. It says represent and performance. You can't make it any plainer than this. So the statutes are represented in what? Our performance. It provides instructions on how to perform or carry out a task, rather. Carry out commandments that are given. So we're going to touch on this, family. That's what we're walking through. We're walking you through. We're walking this out here. So law can also refer to, and excuse me the typos. I didn't proofread my information here, so excuse me for not going back over. I know one of my good friends, part of our assembly. If she watched this, she's going to tell me about not allowing her to read this presentation. So I'm not going to mention her name, because I know if she's watching, she's going even right now, she's probably kicking the screen. So law can also refer to the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books, the books of law, the law given to Moses, right? So the law can also refer to the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, right? Which is also called the books of law, or the law given to Moses, as some refer to them as the law of Moses. So it can be singular, but it also can be used in a plural manner, right? So statutes are instructions on how to carry out the law. All right, let's make sure we understand that. Let me say it again. Statutes are instructions on how to carry out the law. So now let's go back to Romans chapter 6, verse 14. Now, are you guys with me right now? Let me make sure. Let me see if make sure I didn't miss any super chats or anything like that. Because I know that the way my screen is set up, family, I won't be able to see any of them if you gave it. So, and moderators, if there are any super chats, any contributions, let me know, so that way I can acknowledge them as well. And if, because I can't see it from here, because I don't have my multiple screens connected here. All right. So now that we painted that picture, I gave you clarity on law and statutes and precepts, right? Let's go back to Romans chapter 6, verse 14. Let's put it in this proper perspective. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. We're going to have to define this, right? We're going to have to give clarity and put law in its proper perspective. Verse 15, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahweh forbid. So was Paul referring to a single law? Or was he referring to the first 5 books categorized as the books of law or the law given to Moses? So let me ask this question to you guys. And you guys can provide an answer. Was Paul referring to a single law, or was he referring to the first 5 books of the Bible, which is referred to as the Pentateuch or the books of law or the law given to Moses? Was Paul referring to that, the plurality, or was he using this in a singular form? If you guys believe that it's singular, type singular. If you believe it's plural, type plural. All right. And we'll post your responses on the screen. All right. Miss Yvette said plural. Miss Yvette Riviera. Want to say peace and blessings to you, sis. Yahuda returns, say plural. Barbara Jones, plural. Victor Wheatley, plural. We live to survive, plural. Oh, no, actually singular. Dimitri, singular. Stay on fire, plural. Sister Carol, plural. Let's see here. Imaya, plural. Anieki, plural. Ron, plural. Let's see here. Guidelines to the law. All right. I'm going to take it that you're saying plural. All right. Stacy Pullum, plural. Monica Dixon, plural. Denise, singular. Ruhaman, plead the fifth. Right. All right. So the realness, plural. Sister Tanika, plural. Let's see here. Donald Ephraim, singular. Atonement. Tiffany, shalom to you as well. Plural. Let's see who else here. Nakia, Israel, plural. Puchna, I don't know. All right, which is good. We're going to give the answer. Law enforcement. All right. So we see plural, we see singular, we see not sure. For the most part, we see plural, right? The majority says plural. We have some, I want to say it's about a 70 to 30%. All right. Singular, he wasn't speaking on the entire law of Moses or Moshe. Let's see here. All right. So let's go ahead and give clarity. Plural. Let's give clarity. Appreciate you guys' participation. So I'm going to show you, we're going to answer this question together. Let's walk it through. So Paul is referring to a single law, the law of circumcision. Let me say that again, because, I'm going to have to walk you through this, though. Paul is referring to a single law, the law of circumcision. So this particular passage that many use, saying that we are not under the law, right? Paul is actually referring to the law of circumcision, right? So, but I'm have to explain it to you. I can't just leave you hanging here. The law of circumcision was Paul's primary argument. The law of physical circumcision was Apostle Paul's primary argument. Let's go to Romans chapter 2, verse 24 through 29. And we're going to put it in this proper perspective, because this is where a lot of the confusion come into play. Paul sets up his arguments in the very beginning, chapter 1. And remember, family, back in the biblical times, the times of Paul, right? They didn't have chapters. They didn't have verses, right? They didn't have that. They didn't have the convenience of being able to open up their roles like we do to pinpoint a particular chapter or verse like we do today. And I'll explain that in another time, but chapters was not created or added until the 12th century, verses in the 15th century. So when we look at what Paul is dealing with here, he really sets up his whole argument in what we would refer to as chapter 1 and chapter 2 going into chapter 3. So Romans chapter 2, verse 24 through 29, let's read it. It says this: for the name Sham of Yahweh is blasphemy among the Gentiles through you, as it is written, for circumcision verily profiteth if thou keep the law. Right? He's saying circumcision profiteth if you actually keeping the law of circumcision. And what he means by that is if you're keeping the commandments properly. Because remember, Paul's primary argument was the circumcision of the heart. That's where he placed his point of emphasis from. That didn't start with Paul, because Moses says in Deuteronomy, I believe chapter 10, either chapter 10 or chapter 16, he says to Israel that they need to circumcise their heart. Then he goes on to say in chapter 30 that the Most High in the future is going to what? Circumcise their heart. Because Israel had the physical circumcision down, but they continuously went away from the Most High. Their heart led them in other places, even when they went into the promised land. So that was Paul's argument. His argument was against physical circumcision and placing more of the importance of understanding the spiritual circumcision, the circumcision of the heart. Because here he's saying, hey, for circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law. In other words, if you keep it and put things in its proper perspective. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. So now we see law here used differently, because here in this particular passage, right, we're dealing with the Torah, right? But his primary argument when we are at Romans chapter 6, we're dealing with the law of circumcision. So he's saying if you don't keep the law of circumcision, if you don't keep this, if you don't keep the actually Torah like you're supposed to keep it, then guess what? You actually breaking the law. The law of circumcision doesn't do anything for you. But let's go ahead and give clarity. Therefore, if the uncircumcision rather, keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? So notice what Paul is saying. He says, if the uncircumcised people keep the righteousness of what? We're dealing with Torah right here. The righteousness of Torah, guess what? They will be considered circumcised. It says, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? So Paul is using the law of circumcision and he's teaching Torah at the same time. But his primary argument is against circumcision. And Paul is not referring to saying that we're no longer under the law, the Torah. He's dealing with the law of circumcision. Verse 27, and shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision doest transgress the law. For if he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outwardly in the flesh, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart. Wait a minute. So you see where we're going at, right? So if you're honoring Torah, that is the actual circumcision of the heart. If you're doing it from the heart, not doing it by following the law of circumcision, but you crooked. Israel was, man, some of the, Ahab and all those guys, they were circumcised, but they went away from the circumcision of the heart because they transgressed the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. So when we go to Romans chapter 3, verse 1 through 3, we're going to see Paul's primary argument leading up to Romans 6 is the law of circumcision. In that passage, he's referring to the law of circumcision. So what advantage then have the Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of Yahweh. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of Yahweh without effect? Now, when we go to Romans chapter 4, verse 9 through 13, notice what you're going to see here. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. We see circumcision again, right? How was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision, not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision, because what he's saying is Paul, right before he was circumcised, he was in covenant with the Most High. He was in agreement with the Most High. He was faithful to the Most High. But once the Most High officially gave him the covenant, he became so circumcised. He was faithful before he received the physical circumcision. That is what Paul is saying. There it is right here, family, right? So he received the sign of circumcision, right? Because the circumcision is a sign to saying that we are in covenant with the Most High. See, this is one of the things you could shut down a lot of the people that are pushing the feminist narrative about abortion. I got asked the question, hey, where is there any laws that governs a man's body? I said, hey, yeah, it's right here. Circumcision from the very birth. Boys have to be circumcised by the time they're 8 years old. So that circumcision is a sign of agreeing to the covenant. But you could be circumcised. You can have the sign of circumcision, proof, the evidence that you are in covenant. But guess what? If you don't have a circumcised heart, that's all you did. You just went through the physical steps. So he says, and he received the sign of circumcision, Abraham, the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith. Faith in Hebrew, aman, which means consistency. It means trust. It means believe. It means permanent. It means go to the right hand. It means confirmation. That's what aman means. So faith, trust, those are interchangeably. Believe, those interchangeable words, which he had yet been being uncircumcised. So Abraham's faith started before he received the physical circumcision. That's what Paul is saying, that he might be the father of all them that might believe, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also. Verse 12, and the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only. Because again, before this passage, right, you see that before the covenant was given to the Most High, by the Most High to Abraham, Abraham had faithful servants, right? But everyone within this house, right, we can't miss that. Everyone within this house, right, the covenant was given to his seed, right? His was set up to give to Abraham's seed, but everyone within his house, whether they were bloodline descendants or not, they got circumcised. They were faithful to Abraham before the Most High instructed Abraham to be circumcised and everyone within his household to be circumcised as a sign, proof, evidence of receiving the covenant and agreement. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. That's all it's saying, family. That is all this is saying right here. All right. That's all this is saying right here, family. Right. So let's go to Romans chapter 15, verse 8, because I just proved that was Paul's argument. He's not saying we're not under the instructions of Moses to disregard those. No, he is dealing with the law of circumcision, the way that it was being implemented. Whether you agree or disagree, this is what Paul is saying. The physical circumcision, he was placing his point of emphasis on having a circumcised heart. Verse 8 of chapter 15. Now I say that Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, in other words, Jesus the Christ, was a minister of the circumcision for the truth of Yahweh to confirm the promises made unto the fathers. Okay. So does Paul's words negate the importance of circumcision? See, let's go to Romans chapter 7, verse 7, because now you'll put it in its proper perspective. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? In other words, is he saying that being circumcised is it a sin? Yahweh or Yah forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law, for I had not known lust. Because guess what? The law of circumcision, y'all better go deeper than what we've been taught, family. The law of circumcision, especially for men, starting as boys, is teaching us how to what? Overcome our flesh. If you understand the 119th book of Psalms, you'll see that it's 3 phases of the 119th book of Psalms: a young David, a middle-aged David, and a latter David. The first portion is really teaching David the importance of bloodline, his heritage. So what shall we say then? Is the law of circumcision, the law of circumcision, sin? Yahweh forbid. Nay, I had not known of sin, but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Now we're getting into the law of Moses combined with the law of circumcision. Come on, family, it's too easy. Romans chapter 11. I say then, have God cast away his people? Yahweh forbid, right? So the law of circumcision was Paul's primary argument. I'm going to give you one last source here, and then we're going to get into another phase of this teaching here. Galatians chapter 2, verse 7 through 12. But contrariwise, when they saw the good news of the what? Uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the good news of the circumcision was unto Peter. We still dealing with the circumcision in the book of Galatians. For he thought wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of what? Circumcision. So Peter to the circumcised, Paul to the uncircumcised. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave me and Barabbas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. So they agreed. They dealing with the law of circumcision. Only they would that we should remember the poor. So let me just go ahead and continue on here. Verse 12. For before this, that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. But we're still dealing with circumcision. Galatians 5, verse 6 to 11. Notice what it says here. For in Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. We still dealing with circumcision. I told you that was Apostle Paul's primary argument. When he's saying we're not under the law, he's dealing with the law of circumcision. Why? Because there's tons of laws he make reference to. He even said the law of Christ, the law of life. Right? He also makes reference to the law of sin and death, that we're not bound to the law of sin and death anymore because of the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. So ye did run well. Who did hinder you that ye should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. I have confidence in you through Adonai, that ye will be none otherwise minded, but he that troubleth you shall bear his judgment, whosoever he be. Verse 11, but I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision, why do I yet suffer persecution? You see what I'm saying? So Paul said that, hey, if he was preaching circumcision, guess what? He wouldn't suffer persecution. His primary argument is being uncircumcised. He's arguing that, hey, circumcision is not important. A physical circumcision is not more important than having a circumcision of the heart. Right? So does Paul's words negate the importance of circumcision? Not at all. Galatians 3:21. Is the law then against the promises of Yah? Yah forbid, right? He's making it clear that the circumcision is not against the promises of the Most High. So laws, see, family, it's too easy. I could go further into this, but it'll take a lot of time. And I want to say peace and blessings to everyone with the gifts. My apologies. I didn't pay attention to the gifts because, like I said, I only have one screen. Thank you, moderators, for really acknowledging those that have given the gifts. So I want to thank everyone for the gifts that you have given, the contributions. Maria, I want to say peace and blessings. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Mr. Ross G, want to say peace and blessings. Thank you for the super sticker. Julia Songs, want to say peace and blessings. Thank you as well. Thank you for the gift here. Souls of our ancestors, want to say thank you for the gift. Really appreciate you, sis. Let me see. Did I miss anyone else? I think that did it here. And thank you, moderators, for staying on top of it as well. Really appreciate you guys. All right. So again, family, we done said a lot. Romans 6, Paul is not disregarding the law of Moses. What he's referring to, or the first 5 books of the Bible, what he's referring to is the law of circumcision. He's not saying he's disregarding the law of circumcision. Not saying that he's throwing it out, but he's placing the point of emphasis on the circumcision of the heart. So remember, family, laws are instructions. The laws are enactments. The laws are statutes on how to carry out what, right? Now, this is a question right here, right? This is a question right here. Laws are instructions, enactments, statutes on how to carry out what? What are laws? What are these instructions? What are these enactments? What are these statutes? They're teaching us how to carry out what? If you guys know the answer to what they're going to teach us how to carry out, type it inside the comment section and we'll highlight your comments. So what are the laws, the enactments, the statutes? What are they going to teach us on how to carry out? So if you know that portion of it, go ahead and type it inside the comment section. Thank you, Brother Wayne, for pulling up the scripture here. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 6. And Yahweh Elohim will circumcise thine heart and thine heart of thy seed to love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thine heart. Thank you. Appreciate it, my brother. So let's see here. Let's see what we have here. Stay on Fire Ministry, the commandments. Guess what, family? That's the answer right there. The commandments. And I'm going to show you here. Cultural mandates. Appreciated souls of our ancestors, which is what his commandments or mandates. Deborah Odom, commandments, right? You guys hitting it on the nose. That's right. To carry out his commandments, carry out righteousness. Let's see here. Yehuda, right? Biblical instructions, right? Commandments. That's what commandments are. It's instructions to follow the commandments. You guys are hitting this right on the nose. Right? Creflo, right? Somebody say Creflo, kleptomaniac, right? Wants his congregation to give more than 10%, right? I want to say peace and blessings to my cousin family. Give my cousin, Dr. Sean E. Carr, show him some love here. He has an awesome YouTube channel. Let's get him to 5,000 subscribers. Right now, I believe he's at 1,200 subscribers now. Let's get him to 5,000. Really appreciate my cousin here. This is my cousin here dropping a lot of great content on his channel. All right. So let's go ahead and give clarity because you guys answered the question. It's going to teach us how to carry out the commandments. So laws are instructions. They are enactments. They are statutes on how to carry out the commandments. So guess what? For if we have some of the church, some of our brothers and sisters that are still in Christianity, guess what? The 10 commandments is the words of the covenant. So if you say that we don't have to abide by the commandments, you're throwing the commandments in the garbage. Guess what? Then you're saying that we have a blank covenant because the 10 commandments, they are the words of the covenant. So just like we have the Constitution here in the United States is the United the Constitution of the United States is the covenant for this country. Within that covenant, you have 10 primary bills, right? 10. Once you get beyond that, Now you're getting instructions on how to carry those things out. So you have the covenants, the Constitution, and all the articles that are there. Then you have the laws that teach you how to carry out the Constitution. Then you have the statutes that teach you how to carry out the laws. Come on, family. It's just that simple. So the laws are statutes, they're ordinance teaching us how to carry out the commandments. And guess what? This is ultimately the words of the covenant. Without the 10 commandments, you have no covenant. That's why so many in Christianity is confused, because they're saying that we are under a new covenant. But then when you ask them what's the new covenant, they can't tell you none of the commandments of the new covenant. They'll just say love God and love each other. That's so generic. But guess what? That is still identified in the law, right? And the prophets. So the 10 commandments is the word of the covenant. But let's give sources. Exodus chapter 34, verse 28, family. Here it is. Notice what it says. And he was there with Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words Dabar of the covenant, Barayath, right? In Israeli language, Barit, but this is ancient Hebrew. So Dabar or Dabara, right? He wrote the words Dabar of the covenant, Barayath. The 10 Ashar commandments, Dabar Yam, that's the plurality. Dabar commandments, Dabar Yam, the masculine plural, or the Israeli pronunciation, Dabarim, right? But nevertheless, the 10 commandments is the word of the covenant. Those are the words that was written on the covenant. Those tablets, those were the covenant. Without the commandments, you just have a blank check. And guess what, family? It's time to call these warlocks, these witches, these warlocks that have been teaching the Most High's people have a blank check. We seen what happened when George Bush Sr. had a blank check to do whatever he wanted to do with going into invading Iraq. We see where that blank check has taken us, giving politicians blank checks. Give a blank check to your child and see what happens. No guidance to your children. What happens? Isaiah chapter 1 through 3, actually 1 through to the first couple of verses of 4, gives you a full picture of what happens when we have no guidance, when we have no governance. These witches, these warlocks, this is what they are teaching. This is what they're teaching. Let me play the clip from Creflo one more time, family, and we're going to continue here. We're going to break down commandments. All right, we're moving along pretty good. We're making some great time here. So let me play this clip again by Creflo. Let me play the clip again of him. I'm going to show two clips. One when he was teaching about shooting tithers. If it was left up to him, he would shoot those that don't give tithes. Let's start with that one.
Moving bars and give everybody a little card. They stick it in a little computer slot. And if they were tithing, beautiful musical to go off. And, welcome, welcome, welcome to the world, dog. But if they were non-tithers, the bar would lock up, the red and blue lights would start going, the siren would go off, and a voice would go throughout the entire dome. Crook, 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 crook. Security would go and apprehend them, and once we got them all together, we'd line them up in the front and pass out Uzis by the ushers. We'd point our Uzis right at all those non-tithing members because we want God to come to church. And at the count of 3 Jesuses, we'd shoot them all dead. And then we'd take them out the side door there, have a big hole, bury them, and go ahead and have church and have the anointing. Aren't you glad we're under the blood of Jesus? Because if we were not under the blood of Jesus, I would certainly try it. Folks, this is a serious thing.
The King James, it says the wages of sin is death. And yet in the Mirror Bible, it says the rewards of the law is death. Well, how do you hook that together? Well, first of all, understand the devil is not trying to get you to sin. He's just trying to get you to keep the law. Because if he can get you to keep the law, you will sin. You see, Romans chapter 7 says, for without the law, sin was dead. There is no sin without a law. There's no transgression of a speed limit if there's, first of all, not a law that gives you a limit, a speed limit. So without the law, there is no sin. Without the law, sin will have no opportunity. And what many people think, they think Satan's trying to get you to sin. And Satan's trying to tempt you to do this or to do that. No, no. All he's trying to get you to do is to keep the law.
See, family, that's what happens. This is what is produced when you have people teaching lawlessness. So Satan wants you to keep the law. That's what he's teaching. And actually, it's coming out of that Mirror's Bible, right? I didn't have time to clean up my old presentation to add that into here, but we'll do that tomorrow. We'll go through some of the Mirror Bible to give you clarity of what it is. It is a paraphrased Bible. It's a satanic paraphrased Bible that many of these mega ministries like Kenneth Copeland, because Creflo came from up under Kenneth Copeland. Many of these guys are endorsing and pushing. It is called the Mirror Bible. It's a paraphrase Bible. It's filled with a lot of foolishness, just what he was quoting. All right. So again, as we stated this before, family, the 10 Commandments, right? The 10 Commandments is the words that were written on the covenant, in the covenant, on those tablets, right? So Paul made a distinction between the law and statutes of circumcision and the 10 Commandments, which is the covenant. Let me show that. Let me show you this here. But I want to prove this again. Paul made a distinction between a law, right? A statute of circumcision and the 10 Commandments, which is the covenant. Let me show you here. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 18 and 19. Notice what it says here. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called uncircumcised? Right? Let him not become uncircumcised. Let me read that again. Verse 18 again. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called uncircumcision? Right? Let him not be circumcised. So Paul is basically saying it's not a big deal either way. Circumcision is not a big deal either way. But notice what he said in verse 19 to give you proper clarity of his words. He says circumcision is nothing and uncircumcision is nothing. He's dealing with the physical. So he's saying whether you physically circumcised or not, what's more important, as you see here, but the keeping of the commandments of Yahweh. The commandments, remember, the commandments, that's the covenant. The 10 Commandments is the covenant. So this just right here, just this verse right here tells you Apostle Paul did not teach against the Shabbat. The Shabbat is what the church began to push. And we'll deal with that not in this lesson. I'll do a special teaching on that. So Paul made it clear, honoring the 10 Commandments. Family, when you start understanding the history of the church, how they kicked out our ancestors to push a lot of the stuff that are not biblically based, man, when you read the writings of Clement, you'll see even in Eusebius makes note of it, that Apostle Paul was teaching Passover. We already know that in scripture anyway. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, we know that Apostle Paul was teaching the assembly of Corinth to honor the Passover. And guess what? After he died is when they began to undo Paul teaching them to honor the commandments. Paul was teaching the Corinthians and all the assemblies to honor the 10 Commandments, to honor the covenant, which the Shabbat is part of the covenant, the foundational 10. So the 10 Commandments, which is the covenant, was written with the finger of Yah. Those are the words of the Most High. So those were the words that at that time was dwelling among the people inside the Ark of the Covenant, because the Ark of the Covenant, notice I say Ark of the Covenant, because without the covenant, it's just an ark, it's just an empty box. But the Ark of the Covenant had the 10 commandments in there, had a sample of the manna, had a sample of Aaron's rod, the case wood inside it that budded. But the key was the 10 commandments was inside the ark. So that is the physical presence of the word dwelling among the Israelites. So before the Messiah came, Israel already understood the importance of having the physical word of the Most High dwelling among them. Man, y'all should be praising the Most High just off that revelation right there. Y'all should be getting it in. Y'all should be going Sister Carol up in here. See, family, Israel already understood the importance of having the physical presence of the Most High, the representation of his word to dwell among us. So when we get to John 1:1, it tells us, that in the beginning was the word, and the word was the Most High, and the word was with the Most High. Right. But it also goes on to tell us that the word became flesh to do what? Dwell among us. The word became flesh to dwell among us. The Ark of the Covenant, the 10 commandments, they were written on the tablets placed inside the ark to represent the presence of the word of the Most High being physically among us. Anyway, Exodus chapter 31, verse 18. And he gave it to Moses when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Elohim. Come on, family. How can you get away from this? How can anyone disregard the actual writings of the Most High? The 10 Commandments is the actual writings, handwritten instructions, commandments, charge that he gave Israel. So Paul didn't teach against that. And guess what? The renewing of the covenant still going to have those same 10 on it. That's why they can't tell you what's written on the renewed covenant, or if they want to just use the modern lingo or jargon by saying new covenant, they can't tell you. That's why they got to generalize it. Oh, love God and love each other. That's what Christ said. He gave 2 new commandments. No, he didn't. Those are not new. Anyway, Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 17. Notice what it says here. And it says, ye shall not tempt Nasa, right? That's why you guys probably heard me in the lesson that I gave at the conference, the Remnant conference down in Georgia a few months back, when I said Nasa, we have a problem. Why? Because these people are testing, right? They are tempted the Most High with these lies about our identity. Ye shall not tempt Nasa, Yahweh, your Elohim, as ye tempted Nasa, him in Massa. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim, and his testimonies and his statutes, his laws, in other words, instructions, which he commanded thee. So this is telling us that these commandments don't belong to Moses. The Most High used Moses as a vessel to give it to the people, just like he used Abraham to give the covenant, to teach it and stress it among his house. These commandments don't belong to Moses. They don't belong to Moses. Let me say that again. The commandments do not belong to Moses. They belong to Yah.
What?
One more time. The commandments do not belong to Moses. They belong to Yah.
What?
And notice what it says. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim. Right? Let me read it in slow motion, family. Let me read it in slow mo. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim. For the people in the back. All right. It's pretty simple, family. We can't get away from it. We cannot get away from it. But it's these witches, these warlocks that have seduced and deceived the people. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 1 through 4. We can lay down a final hammer on this so we could transition over to the tithe. Right? Notice this here. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen ra'ah of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward, shakarak, right, of your Father which is in heaven, shemayam. Actually, you know what, family? This is a little early. Actually, that's not supposed to be there. That's getting a little ahead. I was about to go there, family. Let me move this here. That's not supposed to be there. I was about to get into it. I was about to get into the time. Let me get into it. Let me move that because that is not supposed to be there. Oh, I was like, wait a minute. That's a little early for there. Let me move that before I forget. All right. Let's see here. We're making some good time. Let me move that real quick. All right, Matthews. All right, let me move this right here. Let me do this here. We almost through this portion of. We got a little ways to go, but we're almost through. We're making good time. And I hope this gives you a lot of meat to go over for. You go back over during the Shabbat. As far as tomorrow, the day portion of it. Let me put this over where it needs to be. All right. Let's see here. All right. Almost there. Just want to make sure I put this where it needs to be put at. All right. Here we go. All right. Let me put it over here. This is why I say, family, this lesson is very extensive because we're covering a lot. We are covering a lot. All right, family, let's go ahead and continue on, right? So remember, law can be referred to the Pentateuch, right? We already said singular. The law can also be referred to the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books, the books of law, which is also referred to as the law given to Moses, or some will refer to it as the law of Moses. Did Paul disregard the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the law, or the law given to Moses? What was Paul's source to his teachings? All right. We're going to answer this question. What was Paul's source to his teaching? What did he use to teach from? I mean, truth be told, what did the disciples, what did Israel at that time, you know, the followers of the way, the initial followers of the Messiah, what did they teach from? What did the Messiah teach from? What did they teach from? I think you guys already know this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. You guys can type it in the comment section. What did they teach from? Second Exodus says the Tanakh. All right. You're almost there. You're partially correct. All right. Let's see here. You're almost there. Second Exodus. You're almost there. Nakiyah, Law and the Prophets. There it is. They taught from the law and the prophets. Remember, Torah, which also is synonymous to the law of Moses, right? That's the first portion. But they taught from the law because there's more to the text that they taught from than just the 5 books of law. They also taught the prophets, right? So we're going to get into all of that as well. All right. So, and I'm going to show you that during the first couple of centuries, what is being referred to as the Old Testament, guess what, family? They didn't call it the Old Testament. We see what the so-called Old Testament was referred to inside the good news, right? And I'm going to show you here. We're going to show you here. It was Torah, but guess what? It wasn't just Torah alone, because even the Messiah made it clear, right? And I'm going to show you here. I want to say thank you for the gifts, family. I didn't catch some of the gifts that was given tonight, and we're going to get some. We're going to get some giveaways too. I'm going to get some cups and everything done for you guys to start giving out. Some things with We Woke on it. I'm gonna get some T-shirts done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and put these together and just start, giving out gifts to you guys, because I really appreciate the love and support of you guys. So thank everyone, and thank the moderators for showing the appreciation for all that have contributed. Right. So the answer here is the law and the prophets. So let me give you clarity here. Right. Let's go to Acts chapter 28, verse 23. Right. And when this is dealing with Apostle Paul, and when they had appointed him a day, there came many to him into his lodging, to whom he expounded and testified the kingdom of Yahweh, right? Persuading them concerning Yahweh Shai, in other words, Jesus the Christ, both out of the law of Moses. Notice what it says, the law of Moses, and out of the prophets, from morning till evening. So we see Apostle Paul is teaching out of Torah and the prophets. You can't get away from this, family. And see, many so-called theologians in the church, they don't understand this. See, I've actually sat in teachings where they taught the law of Moses, saying, when they see this combination, that they say, hey, see, this disregarding the law of Moses. No, that's not what it's saying. Especially when you read Acts chapter 13, right? Barnabas, Paul, they were teaching out of the law and the prophets. That is the canonized text of that time. That's what it was referred to. Now they call it the Old Testament. Why? Because just the psychology of that's old, that's outdated. So out with the old, in with the new. That is very deceptive, the way that it was implemented. So persuading them concerning Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, Jesus the Christ, both out of the law of Moses and out of the prophets. So you see, the law of Moses was also referred to the law, simply the law, also the law of Moses, right? You're going to see you're going to see different variations of this. But the law and the prophets, Torah, and also what the first 5 books, which many refer to as Torah, some refer to the law and the prophets as being the overall Torah, right? But the law and the prophets, we cannot get away from that. All right, that's what Paul taught out of. So Paul taught from the Pentateuch, which is also called the law of Moses. You cannot receive the teachings of the Messiah if you disregard the law of Moses. Let me say that again, because some people don't understand that. You cannot receive the teachings of the Messiah if you disregard the law of Moses. Let me play it one more time so that way you can understand this warlock. That's why I call him a warlock, because he and others that are teaching and the disregarding of the law of Moses, the first 5 books of the Bible. Matter of fact, the law and the prophets, guess what? They are operating in witchcraft. This is what they are doing. Let me show you this spell right now again that this warlock cast over the people.
The King James, it says the wages of sin is death, And yet in the Mirror Bible, it says the rewards of the law is death. Well, how do you hook that together? Well, first of all, understand the devil is not trying to get you to sin. He's just trying to get you to keep the law. Because if he can get you to keep the law, you will sin. You see, Romans chapter 7 says, for without the law, sin was dead. There is no sin without a law. There's no transgression of a speed limit if there's, first of all, not a law that gives you a limit, a speed limit. So without the law, there is no sin. Without the law, sin will have no opportunity. And what many people think, they think Satan's trying to get you to sin. And Satan's trying to tempt you to do this or to do that. No, no. All he's trying to get you to do is to keep the law.
See, family, anyone that's teaching this junk doctrine here, they are witches and warlocks, because iniquity, anomia, right? Anomia, that's the Greek word. It means to bend and twist the law. That's what it means. See, the church is in they're in a pickle right now, because you have this warlock don't even realize he's just making it easier. He's forcing them to have a discussion. See, the Most High he's still going to be glorified. So now the church is going to have the discussion about the tithe, which ultimately, if they say that they have to choose. If you say that we're not under the law of Moses, not to acknowledge the law of Moses, not to honor the prophets, not to deal with the Tanakh, then you cannot teach tithing. They're going to have to properly explain that to the people. Man, that's right. Let me give them the garbage can here. That's right, souls of our ancestors. Let me give Creflo the garbage can. See, family, these pastors, these bishops, they're not going to have us at the table with this discussion. They're going to basically try to tap dance around this discussion. See, family, I thank the Most High, even when I was in Christianity, even though I was not honoring the Shabbat, but I stood on certain principles, man. I didn't play around with the tithe. Yeah, I'm a faithful tither, and I'm giving my tithe to the Most High. And I'll explain that in part 2. Because some people say, hey, how you giving the tithe? Yes, I'm faithful with giving tithe. 10% to the Most High. And the same amount that I give to the Most High, I put into savings. And I put additional 5% aside for miscellaneous, right? If I need to help anyone, any additional things to help people or whatever the case may be. And then guess what? I put the 75% is what my family live off of. But the miscellaneous, it could go a number of different ways. But the tithe, guess what? It goes right into the ministry, and we help the people. You will never hear in our ministry having all kinds of feast days and people have to come and pay. Anyone that came to our ministry will tell you we don't charge for anything, even when we was still dealing with Christianity and we used to have the church anniversaries. We never charged the people a dime. We didn't believe in coming up with all kinds of books, trying to raise money and having teams and all. We didn't do all of that stuff. That's why it wasn't hard for us to transition out of Christianity, because we got rid of the church anniversary when we was like, hey, man, we got honor the Feast of Dedication. Thanking the Most High for having a place of worship. See, it wasn't hard for us to come out of that delusion, family. It wasn't hard for us. So, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Let's continue, family. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. You cannot receive the teachings of the Messiah if you disregard the law of Moses. And that's a fact. Let me go to Luke chapter 16, verse 29 through 31. This is going to hit these bishops hard. This is going to hit these warlocks and witches hard, because you cannot say you hear from the Messiah if you disregard the first 5 books of the Bible. You cannot say you hear from the Most High if you disregard the prophets, the law and the prophets. Now, this is dealing with Lazarus. Y'all know the story of Lazarus, right? You know, the people that treated him mean, guess what? The man that treated him mean, he was like, man, can you allow me to go back and tell my brothers about this situation? Tell them, hey, you know, man, y'all don't want to come down in this hell, man. He said, nah. Says, Abraham saith unto him, they, the rich man's brother, his brothers, 5 brothers, says they have Moses and the prophets. Guess what? They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. And he said, nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. But notice this here. And he said it to them, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded through the one rose from the dead. This is a typo, should be through, right? So it's saying, hey, if they didn't listen to the law and the prophets, if they didn't want to hear the words of Moses, come on, family, they're not going to listen to the Most High. They're not going to listen to his son. All this stuff that they think that they're teaching against the law, which is the words that the Most High gave to Moses to give to the people, which is the Most High's words. If they don't want to hear what Moses have to say through the Most High have to say through his prophet Moses, guess what? They can't even they can't hear from the words of Christ, the Messiah. But I'm not going to stop there. They, the rich man's brother, have Moses and the prophets. What is the phrase Moses and the prophets? Oh, we're going to get to the other portion. What is the phrase Moses and the prophets? That phrase, the law and the prophets, or the law of Moses, or Moses and the prophets, is what the canonized scrolls were called. Right? Did the early so-called church fathers disregard the law of Moses and the prophets? Let me show you something, family. We're gonna beat the brakes off of these guys tonight. We're gonna beat the brakes off of these witches and warlocks tonight, because we're gonna use some of their own church fathers that they refer to their own church fathers, their pillars. We're gonna deal with them. I'm gonna show you that they did not disregard the law of Moses and the prophets. Let me show you something. This is coming from Eusebius of Caesarea, Ecclesiastical History, book 4, chapter 22. Let's see what he says here about the law and the prophets. Notice what it says here, right? It says here, his words are as follows. And the church, I'm just dealing with paragraph 2, and the church of Corinth continued in the true faith until Primus was bishop of Corinth. Notice what it says, they were true, right? They said they continued in the true faith until Primus was bishop of Corinth. I conversed with them on my way to Rome and abode with the Corinthians many days, during which we were mutually refreshed in the true doctrine. And when I had come to Rome, I remained there until Ancetus, whose deacon was Eleutherius, and Ancetus was succeeded by Soter, and he was Eleutherius, in every succession, in every city that was held, which is preached by the law, the prophets, and the Lord. Well, wait a minute. Notice what they say here. In every succession, every time they came together, in every city, they taught from the law and the prophets. Oh man, let me say it one more time, family. Matter of fact, this right here, this is a knockout blow right here to these witches and warlocks that is teaching against the law and the prophets.
It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over!
Come on, family. This is one of the church fathers. In every succession and in every city, every time they came together and had their sessions in every city, right, that hosted them, they preached by the law and the prophets and the Lord, the testimonies of the Messiah. Come on, family. In every succession in every city that is held, which is preached by the law and the prophets and the testimonies of the Messiah. So let's go to chapter 6, same source. Let's see what they say here. Right? Now, this is great right here. Now we're going to show you that the law and the prophets is what they refer to the canonization of the text, the canonized text at that time. Here we go. Notice what this says, family. Melito to his brother Onesimus, I'm messing his name up now. Excuse me if I mess up his name, but Onesimus, excuse me. Y'all get it. Y'all know what it means. One Simeus or Onesimus. I ain't gonna butcher it. Y'all get it. I'm just gonna say one, right? I can't get his name tonight. I don't know why I'm fumbling over his name, but Melito and his brother Onesimus, that's how you pronounce it. That's not Onesimus. Anyway, Melito and his brother, I'm just gonna call him O. Greetings. Since you have often in your zeal for the word expressed a wish to have extracts from the law and the prophets concerning the Savior. Notice what this says here, right? This says Melito in the circumstances which he records. So now right here it says, since you have often in your zeal for the word expressed a wish to have extracts made from the law and the prophets concerning the Savior, right? Notice what it says here, and concerning our entire faith. Wait a minute. So they're using the law and the prophets concerning the Messiah and concerning their entire faith, right? And has also desired to have an accurate statement of the ancient books as regards their number and their order. So here he's asking for what? The law and the prophets concerning the Messiah, because they want to make sure they have an accurate account of the books. What today is being referred to as the Old Testament. But they referred to it at that time, the law and the prophets. And notice, as you see here, accurate statement of the ancient book as regards their number and their order. The number of books, the order in which the books or the rolls are to be placed. All right. It's right here, family. We can't get away from this. Now, let me show you a little nugget here coming from the New World Encyclopedia. I have other sources, but I want to just give you another nugget here. So you understand the mindset of the early Christians when we get to like the 2nd century, the early church, so to speak, because they, anyway, I ain't getting into all of that. But notice what it says here. The term New Testament came into use in the 2nd century during a controversy among Christians over whether or not the Hebrew Bible should be included with the Christian writings as sacred scripture. Wait a minute. Notice what it says here again, family. Y'all better pay attention to this. Pay attention to this, family. The term New Testament came into use in the 2nd century. So we're talking about around 220 to 230, 250 AD. During the time of the Messiah, during the time of Paul, they weren't using the term New Testament, as I just pointed out. They were using the law and the prophets, and they also used the testimonies of the disciples to teach about the Messiah. But their foundational studies were out of the law and the prophets. Now, notice here, it was a controversy whether or not to include the Hebrew Bible, whether or not it should be included with the Christian writings, not the other way around. Should the Hebrew Bible include the Christian writings. When they say Christian writings, they talk about some of these apostolic teachers at the time, these apostles that came after the disciples. This is what they were talking about. But notice what it says here. Let me read it one more time. The term New Testament came into use in the 2nd century during a controversy among Christians over whether or not the Hebrew Bible should be included with, not being the main, but being, secondary, being included with the Christians' writings as sacred scripture. Some other works, which were widely read by early churches, were excluded from the New Testament and relegated to the collections known as the Apostolic Fathers, in other words, generally considered Orthodox, and the New Testament Apocrypha, including both Orthodox and heretical works. So they had a big discussion on whether or not should they even include what they call the Old Testament now with the testimonies of the disciples, the letters of Paul. Family, this should be an eye opener right here. They wanted to disregard the law and the prophets. They wanted to disregard that. They wanted to disregard that, family. They wanted to disregard that, family. So the Messiah is clear about not disregarding the law of Moses. Let's see what the Messiah say about disregarding the law of Moses, disregarding the first 5 books, that the Pentateuch, the books of law. Let's see what the Most High, his son, says about that. John chapter 5, verse 45 through 47. Let's see what it says. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. Notice this here, family. For had ye believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words? Man, this is a slam dunk right here. You can't even say that you can teach the Messiah and you disregarding what you call the Old Testament today. You can, man, you are a warlock. You are a witch if you are teaching that we don't have to abide. We don't have to study. We don't have to keep the law of Moses, the law of the prophets. Because if you disregard the law of Moses, how can you teach the Messiah? How? Because in the law of Moses, how are you going to know? If you disregard the law of Moses, how are you going to know what the commandments are? How are you going to actually know the words of the Messiah? How are you going to know Matthew chapter 4 and Luke chapter 4 when the Messiah was tempted by Hasatan when he said, man shall live by bread alone, shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceed out of the mouth of Yah, so a man live. If you don't have the law and the prophets, you will not get the proper clarity of that, because that's Deuteronomy 8. Chapter 8, verse 2 and 3. Come on, family. If you don't want to hear what Moses have to say, if you disregard the words that the Most High gave to Moses, you can't even understand circumcision. You can't even understand Paul's argument with the circumcision if you disregard the first 5 books of the Bible, because Paul was not the one that was championing a circumcised heart first. You'll see that Moses talked about that. Matter of fact, having a circumcised heart was there right from the beginning. Anyway, come on, family. The Messiah is clear about not disregarding the law and the prophets. He's clear about that. So, family, here's a key letter. We getting ready to get into our stretch run. We are getting ready to get into our stretch run, family. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. We are getting ready to get into our stretch run that's going to set us up for discussing the tithe. That's why I want to do this teaching, because if you don't understand this, what I'm teaching, you're not going to understand tithing. You're not. the law of tithing. You're not going to understand that. So if we don't get through this here, there's no need of talking about tithing. See, we as leaders, this is what we're supposed to be teaching. You cannot understand the law of tithing if you don't understand what a law is, what a statute is, what a precept is, what and how they all tie into the commandments. You cannot understand covenant, let alone talk about tithing. That's why the Messiah said that there are weightier matters to deal with, because he didn't do away with the tithe. So notice this on your screen. This is the yod. This is the ancient Hebrew, right? Letter yod, right? The 10th letter, right? The yod. Yod or yada, right? The yod. And you notice here it means hand, arm, redemption. Numerical value 10. And notice you see here outstretched arms, right? This is important for you guys to note. Make a note of this right here, because we're going to circle back to this. I'm going to explain to you what the Messiah really meant in Matthew chapter 5. This is imperative. So remember, the 10th letter, yod, whenever you see the number 10, for the most part, you're dealing with redemption, right? So whenever you see redemption, think of the number 10, vice versa. All right. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 3. And I'm going to show you that this letter is inside the scripture, because you'll see hand. Right. Notice what it says here. The word of Yahweh came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of Chaldeans by the river Kebar, and the hand Yod of Yahweh, right? Yod of Yahweh was upon him. All right. So the numerical value, as I pointed out, is 10 for this letter. Now let's go into the warnings of Hamashiach. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. Right now, we're going to put this in its proper perspective. Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. This is going to get a lot of people in trouble here. Let's highlight till heaven and earth pass, one jot. Let's break this down. The Greek definition of jot, right? Right? The Greek definition of it, right? Notice what we see here. We see iota, right? It's equivalent to the 10th letter. So this is the 8th letter of the Greek alphabets, but this letter is equivalent to the 10th letter, which is the yod, right? And it says for a very small part of anything. So what does this mean? We're going to break it down. So the jot is transliterated. It's the transliteration of the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet or alphabet. So jot, that's the transliteration of the 10th letter. So the 10th letter means hand, arm, as we covered. One jot or one tittle. Let's see the Greek definition of tittle. Notice what this says, right? Something horn-like. The apex of a Hebrew letter, right? Hold on to that note. Something horn-like. The apex of a Hebrew letter, right? Tittle, right? Again, means something horn-like. An example, the apex of a Hebrew letter. And as you see this, these look like horns. This yod looks like it has horns. The apex, right, of the Hebrew letter. It comes from the Greek word, right? Kuras, which comes from kur, which means the hair of the head, a horn. Right? So let's bring this all together. Let me say this again. So it comes from the Greek word. Let me back it up so you understand where we at. Right? Kuraya, right? Kuraya comes from kuras. That's what we're saying here. Something horn-like, the apex of a Hebrew letter, right? So tittle means something horn-like, the apex of a Hebrew letter. Comes from the Greek word kuras, which comes from kur, which means the hair of the head, a horn. So Hamashiach gave a stern warning to those who have changed and continue to modify any of the Hebrew letters and also the words in the law of Moses, guess what? Not just in the laws of Moses, he gave a stern warning to those who have changed and continue to modify any of the Hebrew letters and the words and the writings of the prophets. That's what the Messiah is saying. Don't you even touch a single word of any of these, any letter of any of these words. You start changing any one of these letters, you start rewriting what salvation is. And we see that the church, we see that the Catholic Church, we see that Christianity, they are guilty for changing salvation by getting us not to focus on the ancient Hebrew, that focus on the Greek. Because the Greek, even if we look at the Greek, they're written, their Hebrew expressions transliterated into the Greek. So the Messiah is saying, don't even change the hairs, don't even change the horns, because if you take off the horns off the very first letter, which is the alap, guess what? Now the ox becomes defenseless. Family, we going in tonight. Now notice here, you see hair, you see horns. This is the demonstration of the tittle. So this is the original yod, right? Actually, this is not the original yod. I showed you the ancient yod. It looks like an arm. That's the pictograph. But this is where it became a letter, the alphabets, right? So look at how it looks. Hair or horn, hair and horns. It went from this to this. It went from being the yod to the yod. And this can make a number of different sounds, but the yod, only one sound, Yah. Salvation. Once you start changing this letter and made it generic, because the Greeks is the ones that interpolated the language to making this letter, because they had no use for this letter in their language. So they made it into what is called a vowel letter. That's why it makes all kinds of sounds today in the so-called Hebrew language, which they call it modern Hebrew, which is really titled the Israeli language. So the yod has been stripped of its horns and its hairs. So in modern Hebrew or the Israeli language, the yod has been reduced to yod and do not have one specific pronunciation. So how important is the outstretched arms of the Most High? Let me show you. These are the outstretched arms. That's the original letter. This is the pictograph, outstretched arms, right? Exodus chapter 6, verse 6. Notice what it says here. Notice what it says here. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel. He's telling Moses, say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh. I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you. Gala or Ga'ala, right? Gala or Ga'al, but really it's pronounced in the ancient Ga'ala, which similar to Gullah, right? The Gullah people, right? Our people. Gala, redeem. I will redeem you with a stretched out arms, nata, arms, zarawai, with great judgment. So when you start changing these letters, guess what? You start changing in our understanding of what redemption is. And we see the playbook right in front of us. Not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law. So strip the horns, right? Strip the horns. Now, Gok will strip the defense of the ox. Strip the horns will allow that person, the person that's changing and stripping these letters, that gives them the opportunity to redefine what redemption is. And we see that happening right now in our face. Change the yod from this to this. Now they took it a step further. They redefine what redemption is. Right? Matthew chapter 5. Let's do a deeper dive, family. If this guys, if this is helping you guys, just type 1 in the chat if this is really helping you guys. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but we have to go through this right here. And I got a full lesson on the covenant, and the covenant is far more in depth than what I'm doing here. But this is why I had to do it into 2 parts. And I hope this is blessing you, give you enough to go back over when we come again. All right, so let's go and do a deep dive, family. Let's go into the deep water. Let's knock down this warlock that's in the backdrop and other warlocks and witches that's teaching this word, right? Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Let's go back here. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets, right? Destroy the law. Makha ha tawara, or the prophets, nabaya or nabya, right? I am not come to destroy makah, but to fulfill mala'ah. Let me read it again. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. But see, in the church, they teach as if destroy and fulfill is synonymous to each other, because they say we don't have to abide by the law anymore. Guess what? You say that you don't have to listen to Moses. Guess what? That means you can't even listen to the Messiah. You can't understand the Messiah if you don't listen to Moses. So think not I come to destroy the law. In other words, the law, the words of Moses, the first 5 books. Don't think not that I come to destroy Torah or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So let's look at the etymology dictionary definition of destroy. This is what it says: to overthrow, lay waste, ruin, ravage, lay waste, refashion, right? Tear down, demolish, unbuild, kill, slay, to pull down, demolish, put to an end. So again, think not that I come to overthrow, lay waste, ruin, ravage, refashion, tear down, demolish, unbuild, to kill, slay, to pull down, to put an end to. The Messiah said, think not I come to do this to the law and the prophets. Let me say it again. Think not that I come to overthrow, lay waste, ruin, ravage, lay waste, refashion, tear down, demolish, unbuild, to kill, slay, to pull down, demolish, to put an end to the law and the prophets. The Greek definition of destroy, let's see what it means, right? It says to loosen. Let me go back here. To loosen, katalu or kataluo, rather, means to loosen. He said, don't think I came to give slack to it. Don't think I came to demolish it. Don't think that I come to overthrow it. He says, hey, don't get it twisted. I didn't come to ease up on it. And we're going to see that the Most High intensified. He raised the standards. He didn't decrease it. He didn't say, hey, when I die, then you don't have to deal with this anymore. You don't have to honor it anymore. So in Greek, destroy means to loosen, to demolish, to halt for the night, overthrow. So the Hebrew definition of destroy, it says to erase. Think not that I come to erase, right? Abolish, blot out, put out, wipe away out. So in Hebrew, destroy, makah, means to erase. It means to put out. It means to blot out. How do you use these interchangeably? Let's deal with fulfill here, because this is the word of confusion, right? This is what happened. Make full, completion. See, it's completed. See, they think that completion is synonymous to destroy. That's not what it means from a biblical perspective. In reference to prophecy, right? Notice what it says: do, perform, carry out, consummate, carry into effect, complete, finish, substantiate, right? Satisfy, gratify. But when they see complete, oh, see, it's complete. See, it's finished. Family, come on now. We can't do that. Greek definition of fulfill. We're gonna bring it all together. Again, satisfy, play role, right? It says here, satisfy, execute, verify, accomplish. All right. Where we going at with this? Expire. Does it mean for expire? Fully preach? We got to go into this, right? To carry into effect, bring to realization, realize. This is now we're getting more of a definitive understanding of what fulfill means. To carry into effect, bring to realization, realize of matters of duty, to perform, execute. Didn't say fulfill means to do away with. It says matter of duties, to perform, execute, fulfill. He executed. That's what it means, execute. But we're not going to stop right there. Notice this in-depth definition, and it's in the backdrop here. It's in the backdrop, and I'll show you guys here. This is the key right here. Entry number 3. to fulfill an example, to cause God's will as made known in the law, right? You cannot say that you know the will of the Most High if you disregard those first 5 books, right? It says to fulfill an example, to cause God's will as made known in the law, Yah's will, that's what I'm going to say here, to be obeyed as it should be. Wait a minute. To fulfill an example, to cause Yah's will as made known in the law to be obeyed as it should be. So the Messiah came and gave us the template on how we are supposed to honor the law, statutes, and commandments the way that it should be, not honoring the commandments, or should I say the traditions of the elders, because the Messiah challenged the Pharisees when the Pharisees came at the Messiah, said, hey, your disciples, you guys are honoring the traditions of the breaking the traditions of the elders when they were dealing with washing the hands. And the Messiah said, you honoring you break the commandments of the law with your tradition of the elders. So the traditions of the elders is making up stuff that's not even in Torah, that's not even in the Tanakh. And come on, we got a lot of brothers and sisters that are making up stuff that's not inside the scriptures. So again, when we see the word fulfill, the proper context is to fulfill an example, to cause Yah's will as made known in the law to be obeyed as it should be. So the Messiah did not say he came to destroy. He said he came to fulfill. In other words, to give us the understanding of carrying out the Most High's will and how we're supposed to obey his will, obey his laws, statutes, and commandments the way it's supposed to be, not by way of the traditions of the elders. Because remember, the traditions of the elders said that they had to wash their hands a certain way. Now, I'm not saying you don't wash your hands before you eat, but guess what? The law of washing the hands was given to the priests. They were supposed to wash their hands and their feet. That's the law. That's where the law is. So the Pharisees was pushing traditions of the elders, making it more important than the commandments of the Most High. That's scripture. He gave the template. Why? Because the Levitical priests, they failed so many times, giving us the true template on how to carry out the law. King David, the royal seed, they did not give a good template of how to carry out the commandments of the Most High the way that they are supposed to be. Solomon, one of the smartest men that's noted inside the scriptures, he failed. He died not in the way of his father. Come on, family. It's too easy right here. This is why they don't want us at the table. Now let's go to the etymology dictionary definition of complete. And family, you have to put things in this proper context, right? So when we see here complete, guess what? Having no deficiency. Having no deficiency. So the Most High, through his son, Yahushua, proved that the law and the prophets, the word of the Most High, have no deficiency, perfect and kind or quality to fill up. He's filling his disciples up in Matthew chapter 5. He's filling them up when he got down to here. He's filling these guys up, right? Transfer. Notice what it says. Finish. In other words, a task. To fill. That's the key, to fill. But let's go back here. Have no deficiencies. There's no deficiencies in honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. See, if you're teaching that we're not supposed to honor the word in terms of the laws of Moses, the first 5 books of Moses, if you're saying we don't have to honor those things, guess what? You're teaching another Messiah, because the Messiah came in the volume of the book. All the word is him. You take any word away, guess what? You're teaching another Messiah. Man, we rolling, family. We are rolling here. Think not that I come to destroy. Let's deal with this word not real quick. Not. The Greek word may. Notice what it says here. A primary participle of qualified negation, an absolute denial, implying a negative answer. Here's the kicker. Instead of God forbid, I like to say Yah forbid. God forbid. Yah forbid. Neither, never. No, none, nor, can, cannot. Not, cannot, nothing, right? Oh man, he going in here. That not, untaken, without. So let's put it in this proper perspective. Hamashiach is saying, Yah forbid that I am come to destroy the law and the prophet. Yah forbid. Let's see some other usages of Yah forbid. Romans chapter 3, verse 3 and 4. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? Guess what Paul says? Yah forbid. Yea, let Yah be true, but every man a liar, as it is written. Where is it written? In the law and the prophets. Come on, family. Romans chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Right? Notice here, Yah forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Romans chapter 6, verse 14 and 15. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. The law. What law is this referring to? The law of circumcision. Remember, we talked about this. What shall we say? What shall we say then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law of circumcision, but under grace? Yah forbid. Remember, the law of circumcision was Paul's primary argument. In Matthew chapter 5, the Messiah continued to quote commandments from the covenant and the laws from the law of Moses. Key prophecy, Jeremiah 31, verse 33. We wrapping this up, family. Let's go there. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahweh. Not the church, not Catholicism, not Christianity, but the house of Israel. After those days, saith Yahweh, I will put my law. In other words, I will put my instructions. I will put my instructions in how to carry out his charge, his commandments. Notice what it says. Law, remember, law, statutes, instructions, and their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. So let's get a demonstration of this. Matthew chapter 5, verse 19 and 20. See, the Messiah is reiterating to his disciples, right, that they're going to have the law, statutes, and commandments, these instructions placed in their heart. Here we go. Whosoever shall break one of the least commandments and shall teach men, so shall he be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So you have some Christians, right, that try to say, hey, you know what? We don't have to honor the Shabbat. If we don't honor the Shabbat, only worst case scenario, guess what? We just will be called the least in the kingdom, but we will still be in the kingdom. Family, that's not correct. That's tempting the Most High, right? We're not supposed to be tempting the Most High. We're not supposed to be testing the Most High. That is a law. Oh, yeah, that's right. The church disregard the works, the laws of Moses, the words that was given to the Most High, from the Most High to his servant Moses, who the Most High said was the most humblest person on the face of the earth at that time. Whosoever shall break, let me show you here. Whosoever shall break one of the least of the commandments and shall teach men, so shall he be called the least in the kingdom. Family, what this is simply saying is they're going to have a bad reputation. They're going to have a bad reputation because right now we see that now these church leaders, guess what? They have a bad reputation right now. They are struggling right now. They don't know how to handle these things. Now they got a problem on their hand because they want to keep pushing the tithe, but they keep teaching that we don't have to follow the law of Moses. We don't have to follow the laws of the Most High that was given to Israel through Moses. So they got a problem here. That's what this scripture is really saying, is that guess what? If you are a leader and you breaking the least important of these commandments and you're a teacher, guess what? Your reputation is going to be tarnished. You want to have a bad reputation. But it didn't stop there. It said this, and he's dealing with his disciples. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Guess what, family? This shuts it down. So they had to exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, because the scribes and Pharisees, they were teaching the traditions of man. So the Messiah is telling his disciples, guess what? Don't think that you are above the law. You have to honor the law and the prophets. You have to honor these instructions. These instructions, you're going to have to place these things inside your heart. You're going to have to step up the game, disciples. You about to represent the Messiah. You want to represent the followers of the way. Guess what? You're going to have to make sure that your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees. Ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So, family, this is not saying you break the least of the commandments, you can still enter into heaven. No, this is saying your reputation, your authority. You won't have any authority because people will see that you're a hypocrite. You see how the church is losing its grip, right? You see how they're losing their grip because they are. It's a lot of contradictions going on over there. So let's look at the interlinear Bible for those that that may not understand the Greek. Those that may not understand Hebrew, the interlinear Bible is a great Bible to get, so that way you get word for word transliteration of the text, right? So let's see what it says here. Notice what it says. Who, if ever, then should be loosening one of the directions, one of the precepts. So if there's anyone that's trying to make the commandments become loose and slack, there's issues for that. So who, if ever, then should be loosening, in other words, annulling one of the one of the directions or precepts. In other words, break. What does break mean? Notice what it says here: destroy, loosen, destroy, dissolve, unloose. So to loosen, undo, dissolve, dismiss, break up. See, you're not supposed to even slack. Not supposed to teach a slackness in the word. Do away with, to deprive of its authority. That's what the church has done. Deprived the Most High's commandments of its authority. Deprived the Most High of its authority. Depriving the Messiah of his authority to declare unlawful. They're declaring the Most High's laws that he wrote to be unlawful. Demolish, destroy. So break, luo, in Greek means to loosen, undo, dissolve, do away with, declare unlawful, deprive, authority. So in the proper context, whosoever therefore shall loosen, undo, dissolve, do away with, declare unlawful, deprive of authority, one of the least commandments. That's what he's saying. Yeah, man, there's penalties for that. Come on, family. Ooh. Notice this here. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumming, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. See, the Pharisees and scribes, they were given tithe, but they were given bare minimum. They were given, like many would say, I'm gonna just give mint and ice coming. They wasn't given, their best. They was given just the bare necessities, the bare minimum, because they were leaders in their mind. They didn't have to do it, but they was on the people about their tithe. It was on the people, not just giving fruits and berries and all that stuff. They give money. They was on them about giving money, taking property from people, while the people dishonoring their parents because they're taking that property. We'll deal with that when we deal with the tithe. But notice the Messiah didn't do away with the tithe. We'll deal with that. We got some meat. We got a lot of meat left on the bone. So a leader cannot break a commandment and ask for forgiveness, then go out and break another commandment and ask for forgiveness over and over. That's what the scripture is saying. Come on, family. And that's what we see what these witches and warlocks are doing. They're breaking the commandments and supposedly asking for forgiveness. And then they go back out again, break another set of commandments, and then ask for forgiveness again. They do this process over and over and over again. And our people keep falling for the okie doke. I'm seeing people sitting up here trying to defend, Creflo Dollar. Oh, let's pray for him. No, this man gave a deceptive hour and a half, deceptive teaching, starting off with disregarding the law and the prophets. And many are trying to champion him, trying to use him as a word of authority. when it comes to the tithe, I could pick apart his entire message, which we already did without even having to get into it. So leaders cannot expect to think expect the Most High to think that he or her is serious about his commandments if that person continuously break them. And he shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Any person who continues to break the commandments, even the least, shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. And again, this is not saying you're going to go. This is just simply saying your reputation is going to be tarnished among the most highest people. Kingdom, dominion, reign, authority. So kingdom in Hebrew simply means reign, dominion, authority. All right. Let me fast forward here. We're almost done here. So, family, I could go into this, and I'll just give a couple of examples, because when you get beyond the verses I highlighted, you'll see that the Messiah did not disregard the commandments. He did not disregard it. He actually stepped up the game. He made it a point to make sure his disciples understood this. He's teaching his disciples about the importance of having the commandments in their heart. So Hamashiach is placing Yah's laws, which are his instructions, which is his instructions of how to carry out his commandments in the heart of his disciples. So once we get past here, you don't see the church go past the law and the prophets. They don't go past that verse, because then they'll see that the Messiah didn't do away with the commandments. He stepped up the game. He stepped up the standards. I'll give you a couple of examples, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll give you a quick setup for the tithe, right? Teaching for tomorrow night. Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 and 22. Notice what it says here. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. Let me read it again. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. So where's the Messiah quoting from? He's quoting from the law, right? He's quoting from the law. You see this right here? He's not just making this up. He says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, ancient. These are written. These are the commandments. Thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill, whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. Now, did Hamashiach do away with this commandment, or place the importance of these commandments being placed into the heart of his disciples? Let me ask you guys this question. Did the Messiah do away with this commandment, or place the commandment into the heart of his disciples? So if he did it, if he did away with the commandment, type 1. If he placed it in the heart of his disciples, type 2. All right. I'm going to ask that again. If you guys believe that the Messiah did away with this commandment, type 1. Or if he placed it inside the heart of his disciples, type 2. Absolutely. You guys are rolling right here, man. Victor Wheatley, 2. Let me go through some of these here. Give some shout outs to you guys along the way. Victor Wheatley, 2. Ya's son, 2. Ani Inyeki, 2. Stacy Pulham, 2. Karima, 2. Monica Dixon, 2. Let's see here. BDT, exhausted. I missed too much of it. Okay. Puchna, 2. Maria, 2. Salt and Light, sister, 2. So we're all in agreement. Salt and Light, sister, 2. Charles West, 2. Peace and blessing, Charles West. Let's see here. Asa Isha, 2. Joy, how you doing, sister Joy? 2. Mazian Israel, 2. L Word, 2. Sheila Jackson, 2. Man, you guys are on fire here. So we all in agreement here. The Messiah did not do away with his word. He did not do away with the commandments. He placed the commandments. He placed the emphasis of the commandments being put inside the hearts, having a circumcised hearts to his disciples. All right. He did not do away with the commandments. Notice what he says here. But I say unto you, right now he's increasing. He didn't do away with the commandments. He's giving them clarity. Now he's making it a heart issue, not something that's just on pages sitting on the dashboard or sitting in that big giant white Bible sitting inside grandma's coffee table turned to the 23rd book of Psalms, page all yellow, none of the other books being flipped through. No, not being placed there as an ornament. He says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. This is dealing with calling your brother effeminate. This is what it's dealing with. Blockhead. I could go deeper with the studies of this, but just to keep it on the surface. So the Messiah is saying, thou shalt not kill. So you can kill a person's reputation by calling them effeminate. See, you notice that a lot of our brothers and sisters, primarily the brothers in this truth, they like to pull the card of, hey, you are emotional when they're dealing with another man. They try to pull that emotional card, right? To try to suggest that a man is being effeminate if they calling them out. See, I had some of them try to pull that card with me, and I shut that nonsense down. Right? Because all of us are dealing with emotions. All of us have a passion on different things. If we want, we could say the Messiah was in his feelings. He was emotional, right? In his emotions when he tipped over the tables and beat the money changers. See, this is where we have to knock all this craziness down, family. We have to knock all this craziness down. When you hear brothers and sisters saying, oh, he's emotional, knock that stuff down. Don't endorse that stuff, because they are doing what the Messiah said right here. You're trying to destroy someone's character by suggesting that they're effeminate. We good for doing that nowadays, right? Matthew 5, chapter 27 through 29. We'll do a couple more. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. The Messiah is going into where? The law, the first 5 books of law, the law of Moses, the law of the Most High. He's going in there. He's bringing this to their attention. These are the commandments right here. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. Did Hamashiach do away with this commandment, or place the commandment in the heart of his disciples? We got the answer right here. Notice what it says here. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So he's saying, hey, commit adultery is not just you going out there and committing a physical act. It's just even you entertaining the thought of it. Come on, family. See, in this chapter, when you're dealing with these witches and warlocks, they try to say, see, in this chapter, they didn't bring up the Shabbat. Guess what? They didn't bring up idol worshiping. They didn't bring up thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. The Messiah didn't have to go to do these things. Why? Because they already knew this stuff. These are some of the main problems that they were dealing with: adultery, bashing and defaming, slandering another brother or sister. Those were the issues that they were dealing with. They didn't have to struggle with understanding the Shabbat. They all knew these things, because they'll get killed if they'll be put to death if they disregarded the Most High, as far as his loving him and not having no other Elohims before him. He didn't have to reiterate the Shabbat because they were already honoring the Shabbat. But he is going and touching on some key things that's in Torah. He's dealing with adultery right here. We have a lot of problems with adultery today, right? Verse 31 and 32. It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, Let him give her a writing of divorcement. Guess what? Where's the Messiah quoting from? He's coming out of Deuteronomy 24:1. When a man have taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes because he had found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement. See, man, he's straightening a lot of things out. These some basic things right here, some foundational things that Israel began to get away from. Honoring marriage. We see it today. Many are using this so-called polygamy movement to disregard their wife, committing all kinds of adultery, fornicating, not even doing marriage the right way, not going to the Father, circumventing the Father, leading away silly women into, preying on the women. Come on, family. We got a lot of problems among our people, man. There's a lot of predators out here. So did Hamashiach do away with this commandment or place the commandments in the heart of his disciples? He put it in the heart of his disciples. Verse 32, but I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her, that is divorced until divorce committed adultery. So what it's saying here, hello, family, whatever's not everything that's lawful is expedient. For many of you guys that's out here to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to divorce her or him for unreconcilable differences. We just can't get along. No, you can't break up because you just can't get along. Especially, men, if you're the perpetrator, you're the one that caused your marriage to go kaput. Notice what it says here. Whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication. That if she went out and slept with someone, that's what it means here. She slept with someone, causes her to commit adultery, right? You, right, decided to annul your marriage, do away with your marriage, put aside your wife for no cause. Now you cause her to commit adultery. What is adultery? Having her go and enter into a covenant with another man. Whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. Because guess what? The husband didn't legally and properly divorce. They're not properly divorced. You can't just divorce for irreconcilable differences. In the Most High's eyes, you're still married. And guess what? You kick someone to the curb because you just can't get along, or you just got to have your space. Guess what? Now, guess what? You are causing your spouse to commit adultery. I know this is hard right here. It's hard for people to understand this right here. So adultery, let me make sure you guys understand. Adultery is entering into another covenant. That means that two people are married and they just decide that, let's just say the husband cheats. The husband or decide to put away his wife for whatever reason, outside of fornication, sleeping with someone. Now he divorces her, right? She goes and enter into another marriage. Guess what? She's actually committing adultery because that's not a proper grounds of divorce. That's what the Messiah is saying. You can't just divorce somebody like you see people being married and divorced 7 to 8 times in the church. I'm not even dealing with the world. In the church, you got people that have been married multiple times that are leading assemblies. Pastors cheating on their wife and then marry someone else. Man, let me leave that alone, man. That's one of the things, man, when I have speaking engagements, man, that's one of the things that the pastors lay out. Hey, if you come, I want you to come in, but can you not preach on marriage, and can you not preach on homosexuality? You'll be surprised, family. Many pastors don't want you to teach the truth about marriage and homosexuality. They lay out certain things that they don't want you to touch on, because guess what? Many of those guys are indulging in that stuff, that perversion. Verse 33 and verse 34. Let's give one more example. We're going to wrap it up. And again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not swear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. Right? Notice what it says. The Messiah is making it clear. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is Yahweh's throne. So guess what? All that I swear to God. No, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to swear on your mother. You're not supposed to swear on your pops. You're not supposed to swear on your children. You're not supposed to swear like that. No, just tell the truth. If your truth is the truth, then let the Most High bear witness of it. All right. Last point I want to make, because I could go right down the list on here. All right. Let me go to one here. Let me go here. This is one that's taken out of context so much. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor, Ra'ah, and hate thine enemy, Ayab. Now I'm going to give you the proper clarity of this text. This is one of the verses that is not taught correctly. This is one of those verses many will use thinking that enemy in this text, I don't like that word enemy, is synonymous to your oppressors. Because many of our brothers and sisters will use this to say, hey, you still love that rapist. You still love that murderer. You still love the people that is oppressing you. You love that person that killed your son. No, that's not what this is saying here. Let's give proper clarity of this text, and then we'll wrap up this here, and we'll continue tomorrow, because this pretty much I'm done with this. This is just a little overkill, right? But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So let's put this in this proper perspective. Is the Most High dealing with the Romans? Is he dealing with the Greeks? And I'm going to tell you, not at all. Israel was in captivity during this time to the Romans. He's not dealing with the Romans. Who is he dealing with? Let me show you. Let me show you. He put these commandments right in the heart of his disciples. What did the Hebrew Israelite Messiah mean when he commanded his disciples to love their enemies? Exodus chapter 23, verse 4 and 5. Let me give you proper clarity. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the donkey of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. But I want to go back here. If thou shalt meet thy enemy's ox, let me put this real in proper perspective. Ayab. Let's see what Ayab means. Let's see what this word means that's transliterated to enemy. Notice what it says here. This is the key right here. Hate, to hate as one as an opposite tribal party. So in this text, when it says love your enemy, it simply means love those that are in the opposite tribe of you. Because remember, there's 12 tribes, family. Your immediate neighbor is those that are in your tribe. Right? I don't like to say enemy, but your Ayab is those that are in the tribes that are opposite of yours. Those that may not be Judah, but may be Ephraim. Those that may be of Issachar, or maybe of some of the other tribes. I was thinking of Benjamin, those that are in the opposite tribe of you. That's what it means there. It's saying to love those that are in the opposite tribe of you, because family, we know how to become groups. We know how to separate and isolate ourselves. I'm from up north. I'm from the New York, New Jersey area. And guess what? When I was in college, we all kept in groups. We hung out together. My relatives down south, we kind of treated them like they was like from another planet, and vice versa when we would go down there. Sometimes we had to be reminded by our grandmother, our elders, that we're still family, regardless of if we're living in the same city or they from down south and we're from up north. That's all the scripture is saying. Whether you live up the hill and your family live down the hill, they're still your family. They're still your family. your immediate tribe and those that are in the opposite tribe of you. That's what this is saying. That's all it's saying. So Hamashiach, he closed with the stern words to his disciples, reminding them of a key law. He closed with these stern words: be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. In other words, tamayam or tamim, it means having integrity. Be ye therefore perfect. This is what the church has been creating problems by telling the people, nobody's perfect. No, we all are supposed to be perfect. I'm perfect. You perfect. What does that mean from a biblical perspective? Having integrity. You cannot say you're not perfect and call yourself having a relationship with the Most High. You're supposed to have integrity. Even in your quiet place, have integrity. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Can you be faithful to your spouse when you're by yourself or when you're away traveling to another state? Can you be faithful to your spouse? Can you be faithful to the things of the Most High when it seems like you're in a place that nobody else know who you are? That's integrity. While you in that truck on that road, or if you fly to different, can you be perfect? Can you have integrity and be faithful? Can you read your word? Can you pray when nobody see you? Be ye therefore perfect, have integrity, tamayam, or tamim, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Deuteronomy 18 verse 31. Here's the law of perfection. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh Elohim. Family, there you have it. We can stop right here. Whoa. You guys had me go overtime on this one. We're going to have to break this up into two. I was going to go into the tie. We'll do that tomorrow night. I hope this helped you, family. I hope this gave you clarity on exactly what the Most High means. I hope you got proper clarity on what it means. Let me close this out. On the importance of honoring the laws, statutes, and commandments. That is not an option, family. That the Most High did not do away with his commandments. He did not do away with the law and the prophets. He did not do away with what now is being called the Old Testament. Paul did not teach doing away with it. He did not teach that. When we get to the letter to the Hebrews, not to the Gentiles, not to those that are not blood descendants of Israel. In his letter to the Hebrews, he's making it clear he's dealing with the law of sacrifice. That's what he's dealing with. He's not dissolving the commandments. So I hope this helped you, family. And my apologies for those that have contributed. Because the way my screen is set up, I can't see your words. But I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me tonight. We covered a lot of information. We covered a lot. And I really appreciate you guys. And I hope this helps you. I hope this really provided answers to questions that you may have had, even how to connect the dots. And again, this is where we have to really get back to the basics. I know this is going to take time for you guys to go back over and just kind of on your leisure, break it up into sessions. We are going to do an extension on this when we deal with the covenant, because some of what I taught here comes from the lesson that I did on the covenant that goes into even more into depth of what we covered here. So the first portion of this lesson, I really want to knock down the "we not under the law" nonsense that we hear many in the church teach. Now they have to give an account for that now, because that lesson that they've been teaching is now coming up to bite them in the foot now. They have to give an answer to that. So tomorrow night, same time. Actually, we're going to schedule for 10:30. I didn't put it on the calendar yet, but tomorrow night at 10:30, we are going to deal with the tithe. We're going to now go in and see if Creflo was correct about the tithe. We're going to teach the proper clarity of the tithe. We're going to answer some questions. These are some, well, actually, I already went back to the beginning. So we'll answer those questions that many of you guys have. And family, this is not trying to tear anyone down within our community or those that truly don't know that may have been in error. This is not what this is about. This is addressing these warlocks like this guy Creflo. He's a warlock. I'm going to call it what it is. He is a warlock, and he's misleading the people. He's not going to give back any of that money that he stole, that he robbed the people of for his poorly teaching of tithe. Sitting in a multi-million-dollar house, right? While you got people within your assembly living in apartments, driving $200 and $300, $100,000 cars, while your people, you got many people in your ministry that are catching a bus, have to depend on public transportation, asking for a $65 million jet, while your people, can't even afford bus fare. And you want to just say you was wrong. No, you want to really show that you are remorseful. Give that money back. Give that money back. Give that money back. Give that money back. So with that being said, family, really appreciate you guys tonight. So let's give the garbage can to this warlock and the other warlocks that are out there that are fleecing the people, that are not teaching the tithe correctly. And we're going to get proper clarity tomorrow night. Let's give them the bucket. Let's give a 3-piece. Couple of sides. And let's give them their order to go. So in the words of Moses, through the Most High, in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, the Most High instructed Moses to say this to Israel because they were contemplating on going back to Egypt, going back to their past. And I know many of you guys, because of all the stuff you see today, that's happening around us, are contemplating going back to your Egypt, going back to certain strongholds. But I want to say this: use Exodus 14, verse 13 and 14. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14 as your word of encouragement. And it says, those words says, and Moses said to the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you never have to deal with them ever again. Those strongholds, guess what? They never have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. You have to hold your peace. And the Hebrew word in that text is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.